Isla Tran's heart pounded as she eased the heavy glass door closed behind her and stepped into the cavernous boardroom. The morning sun slanted through floor-to-ceiling windows, illuminating a polished mahogany table that stretched the length of the room. Around its edges sat the board of directors, each face a mask of expectation. She recalled the gentle encouragement of her twin brother Max. "You belong here." Across the room, Logan Pierce, CEO of Pierce International, reclined, his gaze frozen on the documents before him today. She paused, clenching the takeaway cup she carried. The aroma of robust Colombian blend churned in her chest along with her nerves. Logan's voice, smooth and cold, cut through the weighty silence. "Isla." It sounded distant, echoing off marble floors. She advanced, heels clicking on polished stone, her crisp navy blazer firm against her back. His eyes flicked up, pinning her like prey. He dismissed the board with a gesture. "Bring me coffee." "Black. No eye contact." His words were crisp, clipped, a command rather than a request. Her cheeks warmed under the judgmental gaze of the directors. A silence stretched until she slipped out. The click-clack of her heels faded as she hustled down the silent corridor to the executive pantry. Inside, she exhaled, rubbing her temples beneath fluorescent lights. She measured out grounds, her hands surprisingly steady despite adrenaline burning in her veins. "Black. No sugar," she whispered, steeling herself. The espresso machine hissed and gurgled. Steam spiraled upward as she poured the hot liquid into the branded porcelain mug, the aroma sharpening her resolve. Tentatively, she retraced her steps, heart throbbing. At the boardroom entrance, she knocked softly and entered without invitation, her back straight and chin high. Logan's gaze snapped up. Her voice quavered. "Your coffee, Mr. Pierce." She extended the mug, her eyes trained on the lid. He accepted it with a flick of his wrist, never meeting her eyes. He sipped the bitter brew, his expression unreadable. With a curt nod, he dismissed her. He leaned back, mouth tightening. She retreated, the door's glass swallowing her reflection. Two board members exchanged glances. One leaned over and whispered, "She takes it like a stoic monk." The other hissed, "She's hiding panic." Their whispers rippled through the room, powerless against Logan's disdain. Alone in the hallway, Isla pressed a hand against her chest, steadying her breathing. The sting of humiliation burned, but beneath it lay a spark, defiance. She straightened her shoulders and walked on, determined to prove she was more than a coffee-fetching automaton. Inside, Logan set the mug aside and scribbled a note. "Check her file." His jaw clenched as he watched Isla's departing silhouette. The boardroom fell silent. Logan's final words echoed in memory. "Remember your place." Before she stepped into the elevator, Isla paused, recalling how Logan had hired her for her impeccable discretion and efficiency. On her first day, her resume had impressed him. Her silence had intrigued him. She wondered if he regretted ever unlocking her file of hidden connections to his past. The ivory notepad clutched in his fingers would reveal secrets he bargained for. As she rode down, the hum of machinery contrasted with thunder in her chest. Each floor passed under illuminated numbers, like stages in a gauntlet she vowed to run. When doors slid open, she stepped onto the lobby, each tap of her shoe echoing determination. She would not forget this lesson. He had reminded her of place and power, but she had her own mission, and no dark boardroom could contain her resolve. The conference room lights dimmed slightly as the projected slide rotated through bullet points, projected revenue, market expansion, growth metrics. Isla Tran sat at the long glass table, her notebook open, pen poised. She had spent the night reviewing clause proposals for the Atlantic merger, a deal valued at billions. The room's hush crackled with anticipation. Logan Pierce, arms crossed, perched on the edge of a seat across from her, his eyes dark pools assessing every face in the room. Veronica Steele, Vice President of Corporate Development, tapped her pen against the table. "Our calculations show a 10% increase in profit margins if we waive environmental safeguards in offshore drilling," she said, voice smooth and practiced. Logan nodded, eyes locked on Isla. Isla's chest tightened. She lifted her pen, voice steady. With respect, Mr. Pierce, I believe we should consider adding a sustainability clause. We can guarantee compliance with Tier 1 environmental standards and invest a portion of proceeds in coastal restoration. This could protect our long-term brand value and reduce backlash from regulators and NGOs. Silence. The board members exchange glances. Veronica's lips curved in a patient smile. That would lower immediate returns and delay key deliverables. Isla met Veronica's gaze. I understand the trade-off, but our brand has weathered scandals before. This clause could reposition us as industry leaders in ethical practice. Logan's expression darkened. He stood abruptly, the chair scraping the floor. Drinks wobbled on the table. You think this is your boardroom now? He snarled, voice low but lethal. You're here to do as I say, not lecture me on morality. He stared at Isla, every syllable dripping contempt. You work for me, remember that. Her stomach dropped, but her chin remained high. Her voice whispered, I won't compromise our ethics for short-term gains. Logan advanced, each step measured, his presence looming. You're naive, Isla. Naivete has no place in this tower. You follow orders, or you're out. The word out echoed ominously. A cough interrupted them. Ava Pierce, Logan's estranged mother and former board chair, cleared her throat at the head of the table. Her presence was a living reminder of history they refused to acknowledge. Logan, she said softly, balance is strength. Isla raises a valid point. Logan shot his mother a look that could freeze fire. Mother, this is adult business. Ava's calm gaze swept the room. Then act like it. She turned to Isla. Continue. Isla inhaled, adrenaline flooding her veins. She clicked to the next slide, revealing environmental impact forecasts layered over profit projections. The room leaned forward. Veronica's smile faded, shadowed surprise flickering in Logan's eyes, an almost imperceptible hesitation. As the presentation closed, applause rippled quietly. Veronica recovered first. Fine. We'll draft a clause, but we move on schedule. She tapped Isla's dossier. Just don't slow us down. After the meeting ended, the board shuffled papers while tension lingered. The chief financial officer whispered, regulators could impose fines. Veronica countered, our reputation matters more. Their exchange revealed how Isla's suggestion had disturbed the old order. Pausing at a window, she watched sunrise reflect on glass towers and felt something harden inside her, unwavering resolve. Colleagues exchanged glances in quiet uncertainty. Isla Tran stood at the center of the war room, digital displays flickering on walls, each graph charting Pierce International's dizzying ascent. The annual strategy summit had mobilized every executive and advisor. Logan Pierce watched her with hawk eyes from his elevated chair. She had been invited to provide a risk assessment, but in truth, she was there to uncover truths. She cleared her throat and pointed to a slide marked Pierce Legacy. It chronicled the company's meteoric growth under Logan's father, Graham Pierce. Legacy is our bedrock, Isla declared, voice steady. But it's also our vulnerability. Unearthed compliance issues from the LUX division suggest that some acquisitions were shrouded in irregularities. A murmur rose. Logan's jaw twitched. Veronica leaned forward. Irregularities? Provide specifics. Isla inhaled, glancing at her notes. Documents show off balance sheets and 2 shell companies registered in Graham Pierce's name. A whistleblower file indicates alleged bribery in the original oil concessions. The room tensed. Logan's gaze snapped to her. Heat flared in her cheeks, but she held firm. These files are public records, but hidden under layers of subsidiaries. If left unaddressed, they will draw regulatory scrutiny and reputational damage. A clerk passed her a manila folder. She sifted through and read aloud one line from a faded memo. Graham Pierce to board. Ensure all investigations conclude before public disclosure. She paused. Under her breath she whispered, he built this empire on lies. The words barely escaped her lips, but Logan heard. His smile vanished. He stood, chair clattering backward. The projector cut off mid-slide. Silence slammed down. Logan's voice rumbled. Isla, The single syllable reverberated. She looked up, meeting his storm-forged gaze. "That whisper wasn't meant for you," he said, voice low and deadly. His anger rippled through the room, like a tidal wave. Heart pounding, Isla swallowed. She opened her mouth to clarify, but he raised a hand. "Answer this. Why did you say that?" He leaned closer, nostrils flaring. "Why did you betray my father in public?" Isla's mind raced. "I am protecting the company," she managed, voice trembling. "I want transparency." "Silence," Logan snarled. "You aren't here to protect anyone. You're here to execute my vision. Remember that whisper." He barked, "Remove her." Two security officers stepped forward, gloved hands poised. Board members froze. Veronica's eyes widened. She swallowed and spoke, voice uncertain. "Logan, she's our risk analyst. She uncovered critical flaws." Logan stood, chest heaving. He glanced around the room, tension in every face. He pressed a button on the podium and dimmed lights again. "Then you answer to me now. Sit." Isla's legs quivered as she sank into the chair. Logan turned away, voice steely. "Finish the presentation." His words echoed. The projector flickered back to life, but the air remained charged. She exhaled, bracing herself. The summit had become a battlefield, and she was at the center of Logan's storm. Chairman Ford cleared his throat, but Logan silenced him with a single glare. Isla clicked the remote, but the presentation refused to advance. Logan reached into his suit pocket and produced a sleek digital recorder. A cold smile curved his lips. "Let's listen to that whisper, shall we?" he said. He pressed play, and Isla's heart plummeted as her own faint voice repeated. "He built this empire on lies." The room went deathly silent. Veronica's gasp echoed. The manila folder tumbled to the floor. Logan's dark eyes gleamed. "Welcome to transparency," he murmured softly. Beyond the door, an alarm sounded faintly. Isla swallowed. Her quiet revelation had unleashed a storm she could not control. The moon hung low over the city as Logan Pierce slipped into his private office, the door closing with a soft click. The suite was dim, lit only by the glow of the cityscape beyond the floor-to-ceiling windows. He pressed the button on his desk console, and the recorder from the summit slid out of a hidden drawer. He stared at it, fingers hovering over the play button. His vision blurred with a mixture of rage and curiosity. Earlier, in front of the entire board, he had unveiled Isla's whispered words like a weapon. But now, in the hush of night, those words echoed back at him with new weight. He pressed play. Isla's voice whispered clearly. "He built this empire on lies." The words resonated in his skull like thunder. He leaned back in his leather chair, mind racing. How did she uncover that secret? His father, Graham Pierce, had engineered every detail of the company's founding with meticulous secrecy. Only two people had ever known the truth. Logan's chest tightened. He rose, pacing the dark office. He retrieved Isla's personnel file, the thick folder labeled Tran, Isla, Confidential. He flipped through pages, graduation records, employment history, commendations. No hint of activism. No mention of a twin brother whose name matched a file of scandal. He rifled further, finding a small notation. Tranmax, dependent, and a contact address in Istanbul. His pulse throbbed. He sank onto the sofa and dialed the number. The line rang twice. A voice picked up, hesitant. "Hello." Logan cleared his throat. "This is Logan Pierce. I need to speak to Max Tran." A silence, then the voice replied. "Max isn't taking calls right now." "Tell him I have information he needs," Logan said. He hung up before the voice could respond. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees, mind swirling with possibilities. Isla's whispered confession had connected her directly to the scandal he had buried years ago. He moved to the bookshelf and pulled a leather-bound journal, his father's private memoirs. He flipped to the middle, eyes scanning passages he had avoided for years. Amid entries about mergers and acquisitions, his father had written, "The foundation must remain unquestioned. Doubt is the enemy." Logan clenched his jaw. Isla had not only heard those words, she had internalized their meaning. She knew his father better than he did. The recorder's final echo clicked in his mind. Lies. He closed his eyes, images of family dinners and whispered conversations flashing past. A soft chime broke his reverie, an encrypted email from a secure server. He opened it. A file labeled Project LUX, downloaded instantly. He recognized the signature, Isla's hand. He could see highlighted passages outlining offshore accounts and correspondence from his father. His breath caught. She had compiled evidence against him, his mother, and his family's legacy. She was not a mere assistant. She was a strategist, a crusader armed with truths he had tried to bury. He stood and walked to the window, watching neon lights shimmer on rain-slicked streets. His reflection stared back at him, eyes burning with equal parts admiration and fear. "She knew my father's words," he whispered, "and now I know her purpose." He slid the file into his desk drawer and locked it. He pictured her whisper, feeling respect and wariness. He dialed Veronica. "Run a background check on Isla Tran. I want every secret exposed." He ended the call, resolve settling like steel. Isla Tran sat in the executive lounge during a brief intermission between meetings, her legs crossed, the leather-bound notebook resting on her lap. The lounge was silent except for muted clinks of coffee cups and distant chatter from the boardroom. She flipped a page and scribbled notes in agile script, her pen dancing across paper as she recorded observations. Graham's Shell Corp accounts. FOIA request pending. Max Tran Safe House Istanbul. Each phrase carried the weight of her twin brother's legacy and the promise of vindication. Unbeknownst to her, Logan Pierce watched from the glass corridor. He pressed his forehead against the window, eyes narrowing as he tracked her every movement. That notebook, worn, dog-eared, and secretive, had become an obsession. He remembered his father's old journals, neat and deliberate, each entry a story of ambition and silence. Isla's notebook seemed to mirror that intimate confession. Inside the lounge, Isla closed the leather cover with a soft snap and tucked the notebook into her briefcase. She took a sip of lukewarm coffee, eyes scanning the tray of pastries. Anxiety fluttered in her chest, but she forced a calm expression. She had to stay focused. Each meeting today offered new data points, financial projections, compliance reports, risk forecasts, all fodder for her investigation. Logan strode into the lounge, his dark suit tailored to perfection. Isla looked up, and her breath caught. He approached, his presence commanding the room. "Isla," he said, voice deceptively mild. "May I?" He pointed toward the empty seat across from her. She swallowed and gestured. "Of course." He sat, his gaze flicking to the briefcase at her side. "I notice you carry that notebook everywhere," he said, nodding slightly. "Is it a personal diary or work log?" Isla's pulse quickened. She closed her eyes briefly, recalling her plan. "It's my work journal," she said evenly. "I record daily insights, tasks, and to-do items. It helps me stay organized." He leaned forward. "And what tasks are most important to you right now?" She met his gaze. "Ensuring Pierce International operates ethically. That's why I recommended the sustainability clause and flagged those legacy compliance issues." Logan tapped a finger on the table. "You're passionate." He studied her. "Do you trust this company?" Isla paused, her heart thundering. She weighed her words. "I believe in its potential, but hope alone can't safeguard reputation. We need transparency." Logan's lips curved into a brief smile. "Transparency," he echoed softly. "Tell me, does this journal reveal secrets you won't share?" Isla felt a thrill of defiance. She tucked the leather notebook under her arm. "My thoughts are my own, Mr. Pierce, but my allegiance is to the truth." Logan's eyes glittered. He rose, straightening his jacket. "Keep your notebook close. It seems it holds many answers." He paused at the door. "But remember, some questions come with a price." Alone again, Isla exhaled, her fingers brushing the notebook's spine. She opened to a new section titled Allies, listing Varen Gwyn, the Geneva whistleblower, Counsel Mark Harrison, and an EU regulator contact. By Max Tran, Safe House Istanbul. She drew a tiny key symbol, her vow to rescue him. She then jotted a fragment of her mother's proverb. "Truth is stronger than secrecy," underlining it twice. Closing the cover, She felt her conviction harden for the battles yet to come. Its worn pages had become her personal shield forever. Isla transstepped onto the gleaming private jet's polished floor, the gentle hum of the engines vibrating beneath her feet. Logan Pierce stood at the threshold, his tailored suit perfect, brows furrowed. The plane's interior exuded quiet luxury, plush leather seats, polished wood panels, and discreet compartments concealing state-of-the-art surveillance. Isla watched him lock the aircraft door, the mechanism clicking like a gunshot echo. "So," Logan began, voice clipped, "we're off to Geneva Business Summit, but first a detour." He approached Isla, gaze intense. "I want you to see Project LUX firsthand." Isla's heart fluttered. She had heard whispers of Project LUX in company memos, an initiative shrouded in secrecy. "Of course, Mr. Pierce," she replied evenly. He gestured, and a flight attendant appeared at his side. "Serve coffee." The attendant nodded and retreated. Isla followed Logan past the main cabin to a curtained-off section. He pulled the curtain back, revealing a secure door. A padlocked door with an electronic keypad glowed softly. Logan keyed a code. The door slid open to reveal a sterile chamber bathed in fluorescent white light. Rows of transparent tanks lined the walls, each containing shining devices labeled LUX prototype. Isla's breath caught. "What are these?" she whispered. "Advanced biosensors," Logan explained. "Masked as innocuous wearables, but they harvest biometric data. Heart rates, blood chemistry, emotional responses." He paused. "They're marketed to improve health, but the data goes to us, unfiltered." Logan's voice grew colder. "Imagine the power, real-time emotional analytics across whole populations." Isla's mind raced. Data privacy regulations, ethical boundaries, they all shattered here. She studied the prototypes, their sleek design betraying their invasive function. "Mr. Pierce, this could endanger millions if the data is misused." He nodded, eyes dark. "That's the point. Knowledge is control." He closed the secure door. "You work in risk management. Advise me. Should we proceed?" Isla exhaled, steadying her breath. She recalled her own mission, unravel the company's darkest secrets. But she needed more evidence. "We need full disclosure to regulators," she said. "At least a dummy compliance protocol to placate oversight bodies." Logan's lips curled. "You surprise me. Altruism suits you." He tapped the door panel. "Then start drafting the protocol. We land in 2 hours." Isla nodded, spine stiff. As she walked back, she caught the attendant's curious glance, knowing yet fearful. She sat, pen trembling slightly, open notebook on her lap. Logan reclined, folding arms. "I'll be watching," he murmured. The jet lifted off into night sky. Through oval windows, city lights dwindled beneath clouds. Isla opened her notebook and scribbled. "Project LUX, ethical breach, biometric exploitation, data privacy violation." She underlined each phrase twice. Her next move would expose everything. Geneva Summit would be the stage. She tapped the notebook. "Need regulatory whistleblower contact. Ava Pierce." Her pulse quickened. Logan's voice crackled through the intercom. "In 15 minutes, bring me your draft." Isla inhaled. The mission intensified. Under gleaming chandeliers overhead, technology and morality collided in the sky. She looked at Logan's reflection in the window, a silhouette against moonlight. He remained calm, but she caught a flicker of respect in his eyes. He was aware she challenged him. So be it. Isla Tran reached for her pen. The game had escalated. She would play, and she would win. Steady resolve united. Determination surged as they left the lounge into Geneva's marble hall. Isla scribbled in her notebook. "Istanbul safe house. Verify records. Arrange counsel." Logan matched her pace. Together, they would chase buried truths until Max's deletion was undone and justice prevailed. Isla Tran's flight landed at Geneva International Airport under cloudy dawn skies. Her mind still thrummed from late-night drafting of the LUX compliance protocol. She stepped onto the tarmac, scanning the hazard-striped runway. 2 black SUVs idled nearby. The first bore the Pierce International crest. Logan emerged from the second vehicle, buttoning his coat against the chill. He placed a hand on her shoulder. Max Tran. He murmured the name, as though tasting salt on his tongue. Is he alive? Isla inhaled, the question confirming her fears. I don't know. Her voice was fragile but determined. Company files list him as legally deceased, but the evidence I've seen suggests someone scrubbed his death certificate. Logan frowned, brow creasing. Why? If he served lawfully, why erase him? His voice barely carried above the engine's idling. She led him through customs, into a private lounge. The attendant guided them to velvet seats. She produced her notebook and flipped to the consultancy records section. She traced a finger over scribbles. Max Tran, intern under Ava Pierce, whistleblower, disappeared 2015, record purge, Istanbul safe house rumor. Logan's jaw clenched. He tapped the notebook. You found that in the public domain? He asked incredulously. Isla nodded. I pieced together corporate correspondences, freed FOI archives, and interviewed ex-staffers. Everyone who mentioned his name vanished from databases. She paused. You have to admit, it smells like a cover-up. He sipped espresso. Steam swirled between them. My father had enemies, he muttered, but he loved Ava. Why harm her in turn? His tone held guilt and suspicion. Isla closed her eyes, recalling her brother's final letter. He exposed LUX's early data mining practices. He threatened to go public. Her voice trembled. Then he disappeared. A tense hush settled. Logan stared at his coffee, reflections of overhead lights dancing in the liquid. He set the cup aside and rose. Take me to Istanbul, he ordered. Now. Isla rubbed her temples. Geneva meetings awaited, but Max's fate eclipsed any summit. I'll arrange the flight, but we risk international scandal. She watched his face. He no longer looked like the arrogant CEO. He was a man seeking redemption. Suddenly, a secure phone buzzed in Logan's coat pocket. He retrieved it. The caller ID flashed unknown. He answered. A distorted voice spoke. Tell Pierce International. Max Tran is not dead. He's our asset. Logan's eyes went wide. He cut the call. What asset? He whispered. And who is we? Isla rose as the first rays of sun filtered through tinted panes. The attendant watched awkwardly, unaware of seismic revelations. Logan ran a hand through his hair. They're still contactable. Contact logs route through shadow servers. He pointed at her notebook. Your next assignment, find him. His tone shifted, less command, more plea. I need to know if he lives. If he's my brother-in-law. Isla met his gaze. In that instant, they became uneasy allies. She nodded silently. I'll start now. She closed her notebook and stood. Outside, the Geneva skyline shimmered with promise and peril. A storm gathered, both over the city and between them. Each secret uncovered edged them closer to revelations that could topple empires. Determination surged as they left the lounge into Geneva's marble hall. Isla scribbled in her notebook. Istanbul safe house. Verify records. Arrange counsel. Logan matched her pace. Together, they would chase buried truths until Max's deletion was undone and justice prevailed. Back in Geneva's Grand Conference Hall, attendees mingled before the environmental compliance panel. Booths displayed glossy brochures for sustainable technology. Isla Tran stood discreetly by a projector station, reviewing her LUX protocol draft on a tablet. The morning air buzzed with polite chatter. Veronica Steele approached, wearing a crisp white pantsuit that mirrored her ruthless ambition. She offered a tight-lipped smile. Isla, mind if I borrow your draft? She purred, voice saccharine. Isla hesitated. It's my work. But she held the tablet blade-like between them. Veronica's manicure gleamed under lights. I need clarity on Clause 6. Transparency Index Calculation. In the background, Logan conversed with an EU regulator. Isla gestured toward Veronica. Here, Clause 6 details projected compliance ratios with bylaws. She swiped a page. Veronica skimmed the tablet, lips twitching. Impressive, Veronica murmured, but the board may reject it if it jeopardizes our market share. She scrolled further. Isla watched uneasily. Later, during lunch, Isla discovered an email on her phone. It had been sent from her own account, leaked to a public sustainability forum. The subject line read, "Urgent, Pierce International Sustainability Protocol Draft." Her stomach dropped. In minutes, her email had gone viral among NGO networks. Her phone buzzed again, a notification from a social platform illustrated by corporate watchdogs. Comments criticized Pierce International for token gestures. Feedback demanded immediate transparency. Isla's face flushed. She looked up and saw Veronica slip away toward a truss, supporting stage lights. The woman's elegant stride now appeared predatory. Isla dashed through rows of chairs toward the backstage door. Heart thundered. Voices behind her echoed. Where did the draft come from? Who leaked it? Logan's voice roared above them. Find her. The crowd parted as he stormed forward, eyes burning. She yanked the door open and burst into a mirrored corridor. White walls echoed her rapid breaths. She tapped her tablet furiously, searching sent email logs. Nothing. It had been sent via a shadow server. She cursed under her breath. Footsteps pounded. She rounded a corner and nearly collided with a technician. He startled, then pointed at a staircase sign. Upstairs. Isla nodded gratefully and lunged up the narrow steps. On the landing, harsh fluorescent lights revealed an open service hatch. She climbed inside and pulled the hatch down above her head, the metal scraping like fingernails on chalkboard. She crouched, tablet pressed to her chest. Below, distant shouts and scuffling feet vibrated the walls. She opened her notebook, scribbling. Veronica leak, sabotage, liability, uncover motive. She underlined Veronica Steele twice. Sweat dampened her palm. Minutes felt like hours. Then footsteps retreated. Isla exhaled, hands trembling. She eased the hatch open and slid out. The corridor was empty. She dashed back toward the conference hall, determination etched on her face. Finding Logan waiting at the entrance, he looked at her tablet. Explain this leak, he demanded. His voice was measured but lethal. Isla swallowed hard. She met his gaze with resolve. I didn't send it. Someone on the inside sabotaged the protocol. My suspicion falls on Veronica. Logan's eyes flickered. Prove it. He turned on his heel and walked away. Isla watched him go. Her mission sharpened. Expose the saboteur before validation of her ethics became Pierce International's undoing. Determined, Isla followed Logan's retreating figure into the hall. She glimpsed Veronica at the panel desk, feigning concern. Every fiber of Isla's being bristled. She tapped her notebook. Locate server logs. Interview ATA technician. Trace public post metadata. The conference awaited her testimony. She inhaled steadily, ready to storm the stage to reclaim her integrity. Nothing would stop her now. The door to Pierce International Security Wing slid open to reveal monitors, flickering in a dim control center. Isla Tran and Logan Pierce entered, guided by Chief of Security, Marquez. The room smelled of ozone and coffee. Rows of screens displayed camera feeds from every corporate facility. Lobbies, boardrooms, floor corridors. Isla's pulse raced. This was the nerve center of his empire's watchful gaze. Marquez gestured to a central console. Here we archive footage. We also cross-check external feeds. His voice was flat. Your protocol update may be influenced by what you see. Logan nodded. He motioned to Isla. Find the leak. His tone suggested trust, tentative, yet present. Isla tapped the console. She entered search parameters. Date, time, user account. She selected the log labeled Geneva Summit Staging. As she typed, images materialized. Veronica walking the halls, a technician accessing service panels, fingerprints on an Ethernet port. Her eyes widened. She paused the playback. Veronica slipped a USB drive into a port behind a panel. The technician nodded once, then walked away. Logan leaned in. Reveal the driver's path. Marquez typed commands. The camera feed tracked Veronica from the staging area to the service corridor. The footage was grainy, but unmistakable. Isla exhaled. She smuggled out my draft on that USB, she muttered. Logan's jaw clenched. He closed his eyes briefly. Marquez continued. clicking through menus. We also pinged network traffic. Data exploded from our Geneva server through an encrypted tunnel to an external host that matches the USB's hashed ID. Isla's throat tightened. The depth of betrayal stunned her. Veronica, VP and confidant, played them both. Logan's voice rumbled. I should have known. Marquez nodded, flicking through logs. We've quarantined the host connection. The protocols are safe now, but your credibility took a hit. Isla met Logan's dark gaze. Regret flickered across his features. We'll fix this, he vowed. But first, we need more answers. She swiveled to Marquez. Can we trace the phone used to upload? He processed a query. Yes. It's registered to a burner linked to TVA Consulting. Logan's eyebrows rose. Veronica's shell consultancy. His tone replaced skepticism with grim acceptance. Isla tapped her notebook. Then we can subpoena their records. Force them to identify the handler. Marquez pulled a lever. A screen lit up showing login credentials. V-Steel IP. He printed the data stream. All details are here. Isla felt a surge of vindication. She turned to Logan. We have her. Now we control the narrative. Logan's lips curled into a fierce smile. Time to confront her. He grabbed his jacket. As they left the surveillance room, Isla paused to watch the screens. Her reflection merged with Veronica's figure on a monitor, a stark reminder of corporate war. Beyond the hallway, voices of the conference drifted. She felt the weight of every eye in the hall. The summit would not forget the scandal, and she would ensure the truth emerged victorious. In the adjacent briefing room, a dozen security analysts clustered around a giant touchscreen, displaying live network maps. Isla stepped forward, tracing packet routes with her finger. Logan hovered behind her, silent determination in his posture. Then a red alert flashed on the console, an unauthorized deletion attempt. Marquez's voice cracked over comm. They tried to erase the footage remotely. IP trace points to Geneva headquarters mainframe. Isla's heart sank. Veronica had inside help, she said. Logan's jaw hardened. Then we bait her, he growled. He instructed Marquez to prepare a controlled press feed. Isla nodded, eyes blazing. We'll expose her during the keynote. A tense calm fell over the room. Together, Geneva's summit venue towered above Lake Geneva like a glass monolith. Isla Tran followed Logan Pierce into the service elevator behind the main hall. The door slid shut, sealing muted chatter and footfalls behind steel panels. Only their breaths and the elevator's gentle hum remained. Logan turned, eyes burning. I need answers for Veronica, he said. But if we confront her in front of regulators, she'll vanish. We need privacy. She glanced at the control panel. The elevator slowly descended. We can stall, she whispered. Open the shaft access. Logan cocked an eyebrow. She produced a small toolkit from her jacket, a utility knife and mini screwdriver. He raised a brow. Be careful. In the narrow confines, she pried open a panel. Wires and circuitry glimmered. She paused. Give me 30 seconds. He nodded. She worked deftly, using the screwdriver to override the lock code. Lights flickered as she input commands. The elevator jerked, doors sliding open onto the service shaft, a vertical tunnel with rungs and emergency lights. Logan stepped out, the shaft yawning beneath them. The hum of machinery was louder here. A low fear prickled Isla's spine, but she steadied herself. This way, she said, pointing to a maintenance ladder leading upward. They climbed, each rung echoing in the shaft like a warning. At the next floor landing, they emerged in a dim corridor behind VIP suites. It branched in both directions. Isla checked her tablet. Encrypted map displayed nearby rooms. She guided Logan toward a door labeled Media Lounge. Veronica used that room while prepping remarks. Logan placed a gloved finger over the biometric scanner. Isla scanned his ID badge. The door clicked open. Inside, rows of plush chairs faced a wide screen. Veronica stood in front, adjusting her notes. She turned at their entrance, shock flickering across her makeup. Still hiding, Isla, she sneered. I almost felt sorry for you. Logan stepped forward, hands clasped. You leaked my trusted assistant's draft, sabotaging our summit. His voice was calm but full of thunder. Veronica laughed. Trust? You trust a stranger with your darkest secrets? Isla's chest tightened. She raised her chin. You betrayed me and the company. Explain your motives. Veronica's lips curled. Simple. I protect Pierce International. Isla's protocol would ruin deals. She waved dismissively. Regulators can't know about LUX. Logan's hand drifted toward his coat pocket. Regulators will know. He pressed a button, and above them, the projector flickered on. The screen displayed surveillance footage, Veronica's USB slip, and network logs. Gasps echoed as analysts crowded the doorway. Veronica's face paled. She backed toward a side exit. Logan advanced. You tried to destroy evidence, he said. Now you face consequences. Veronica's eyes darted, then filled with fury. She lunged for a side panel, slamming it. An alarm blared, doors sealing. Isla grabbed Veronica's arm. Stop. Veronica jerked free. Relief and terror mixed. Security alarms wailed as lights flashed red. Logan barked at the console. Override lockdown. Open doors. Guards scrambled outside. The chamber rattled as bolts slid. Veronica sank, trembling. Logan stepped close. You had one chance. Veronica's voice quivered. I did it for the company. Logan's expression softened slightly. At what cost? He grabbed her notes. Your reckoning awaits. Sirens echoed as Isla used a wedge to hold the door open. Veronica remained frozen, labored breaths visible. Logan retrieved the encrypted drive and handed it to security. Together, they guided Veronica into an awaiting escort. The trap had succeeded. Moments later, regulators and press flooded the chamber, cameras flashing. Isla released a breath, heart still racing. The summit transformed into her triumph. Isla slipped through the yawning steel door marked Archives, authorized personnel only. The corridor beyond was narrow, musty, and lit by a single flickering bulb. Rows of steel shelves stretched into darkness, each bearing folders containing decades of Pierce International's corporate memory. She checked her watch, 2:13 a.m. Security rounds wouldn't come for another 7 minutes. Her heart hammered, but she steadied herself. Tonight, she'd find the final piece of evidence in her father's old memos and expose the true architect of Max's downfall. She crouched beside a shelf labeled G. Pierce, Personal, and retrieved a slim, leather-bound notebook. The spine cracked softly as she opened it. Handwritten entries detailed secret offshore accounts, bribes paid to silence witnesses, and instructions to erase inconvenient employees. Entries she had only glimpsed in fragments online. Her fingers trembled. This was Graham Pierce's own memoir, recording every unethical decision he'd hidden from the board. A soft click echoed behind her. Alarm spiked. Isla spun to see a motion sensor, sliding shut a distant door. She cursed under her breath. The timed override she'd installed barely held the lock. She had 2 minutes, maybe less, before someone discovered her breach. She copied the pages that mentioned Maxtran and Project LUX, her camera app whirring quietly as it scanned each page. The memory light glowed red. She silently willed it to finish. Suddenly, footsteps pounded on the concrete floor. The beam of a flashlight swept the stacks. Who's there? A voice demanded. Isla pressed herself against the shelf, holding her breath as the guard's beam swept past her hiding spot. Her pulse thundered. She watched his booted feet recede, then scurried back to the leather notebook. She slipped it into an inner pocket and closed the archival door behind her with careful precision. Out in the hallway, Isla exhaled, heart racing. She scanned the digital readout on her tablet. One folder remained unviewed. Pierce Family Trust. She tapped to download it remotely. A progress bar filled, then flashed access denied. Frustration flared. She stomped her foot. Of course, family trust documents were locked behind biometric scans. She couldn't risk alerting the mainframe. But the notebook in her pocket was enough. Graham's own words proved a scheme. As she crept back through the tunnel toward the service elevator, she replayed every whisper, every graffitied instruction from Max's final letter. She would send these files to Ava Pierce, if she could trust her, and then to regulators, to journalists, to every watchdog in Europe. The truth would dismantle the empire. Pause. She heard a faint hum behind her. The guard. She ducked into a maintenance alcove, knees pressed to her chest as his heavy footsteps echoed past. He paused, light swinging dangerously close, then moved on. When she finally reached the elevator shaft and punched the override code, the door slid open. Her legs felt weak as she rode upward toward the conference floor. The corridor lights flickered in apology. Isla pressed her palm to the wall to steady herself. The notebook's weight was comforting, a testament to every hidden crime. She cleared her throat, voice steady. This is just the beginning. Isla emerged into the marble corridor moments before the day's keynote address. Her tailored navy suit felt stifling after the archive's stale air, but she held her posture high. Word of a major revelation had already circulated among department heads. Isla's phone buzzed with encrypted messages. Ready? From Ava Pierce. She tapped yes and locked the screen. She spotted Veronica Steele near the grand staircase, whispering into her phone, lips curling in triumph. Veronica's white pantsuit gleamed under chandeliers. Isla's blood ran cold. Veronica knew about the archive's break. If she wanted to discredit Isla, she could accuse her of corporate espionage, turn regulators against her. Isla approached. Veronica, she said, voice steady. Veronica looked up, surprise flickering before calcifying into feigned politeness. Isla, she purred, I hear you had a busy night. Her eyes glinted with malice. Those archives were off limits. I'm fixing loopholes your sabotage left gaping, Isla replied. Veronica laughed, a brittle sound. Oh dear, you've got it twisted. I only pointed out your protocol leak. Corporate espionage is another matter. She dropped her voice. Logan's about to fire you. He can't afford this distraction. Isla's heart plummeted. She recalled Logan's cold dismissal after the surveillance room fiasco. His trust was fragile. If Veronica convinced him Isla had broken into archives, her ethical crusade would end in disgrace. You're lying, Isla seethed. I'd never betray Pierce International like that. Veronica flicked a hand dismissively. We'll see what the security logs say. She strode away, phone already dialed. Isla froze, then sprinted toward the security hub, the one place that could clear her name. She burst through the door to find Marquez at the console, frowning over network logs. Marquez, you need to see, she began. He cut her off, eyes grave. Veronica just filed an incident report. She claims you trespassed and stole company property. Isla's stomach nodded. She's framing me. Check the archive's door override. Someone else disabled it. She moved to the console. Fingers flew over keys, pulling up sensor logs from the basement archives. The override timestamp matched her entry, but the user ID read vSteel IP. Marquez's eyes widened. Veronica used your override code. That's impossible. She must have stolen my credentials, Isla said. Frame me so Logan can fire me before I expose Project LUX. Marquez rubbed his chin. We can trace the IP back to her device. He tapped a command. A detailed log popped up. Veronica's tablet initiated the unlock and removed the motion sensor. Isla exhaled. Print that, she said urgently. I need proof. Marquez downloaded the file and handed her a secure drive. She nodded gratefully. Thank you. She raced out, secure drive in hand, toward the executive lounge where Logan would be briefing shareholders. Hallway mirrors reflected her urgency. Each breath burned. She rehearsed her words. Logan, Veronica framed me. At the lounge entrance, she spotted Logan, flanked by anxious board members. She raised her voice. Logan, I have proof Veronica tampered with the archive sensors. Conversation stalled as heads turned. Logan's gaze sharpened. He motioned her forward. Isla plugged the drive into a tablet on the credenza and displayed the logs. User ID, timestamps, device MAC address. Board members murmured. Logan's eyes narrowed on Veronica, who had just entered with smug confidence. Explain, he demanded. Veronica's face flickered. She stammered. I only accessed when logs indicated a security breach. I thought it was my duty. Logan studied the screen. The override code matches Isla's credentials, but the device is yours. He turned to Isla. You didn't authorize this. She shook her head. She's playing dirty to stop me. Logan inhaled slowly, tension rippling through him. Veronica, step aside. He addressed the board. We'll have a full inquiry. His gaze returned to Isla. I believe you. Gasps rippled. Veronica's shoulders slumped as security escorted her away. Isla's relief flooded her, but she steeled herself. This victory cost more than she'd imagined. The war for Pierce International's soul intensified, and she had only one chapter left. Post-inquiry, the company's energy crackled with tension. Reporters whispered at reception, and executives exchanged wary glances. Isla arrived at her desk to find a pink slip pinned to her monitor. Employment terminated, effective immediately. Shock froze her. The wording was curt, impersonal, and unsigned. She rifled through emails. Nothing. Not a hint of explanation. Panic clawed at her throat. She stomped toward HR, briefcase swinging, notebooks clutched tightly. In the hallway, she collided with Jasper, Logan's junior aide. His eyes widened. Isla. She waved the slip. They fired me. No meeting, no reason. Jasper glanced around nervously. Go to Logan's office. Hill. She cut him off. He's in the boardroom. She stormed in to find Logan facing the board, arms crossed. Executives sat in a semicircle, expressions guarded. At the back, Ava Pierce observed quietly. Logan's gaze flicked to the door. Isla. She advanced. Care to explain why you fired me? Board members shifted. Logan's voice was cold. Your actions jeopardized the company. The leak, the archives break, the sabotage allegations, it's too much. Her heart thundered. I was vindicated. You cleared me. He held up a hand. I know the truth, but the exposure has cost us millions in stock value and reputation. I can't risk more instability. Ava Pierce stood. Silver hair gleaming, she addressed the board. Your loyalty should be to what's right, not what's easy. Logan stiffened. Mother. She ignored him. This woman uncovered crimes that could destroy our legacy. She deserves promotion, not dismissal. He inhaled, jaw tight. I appreciate your passion, but our priorities differ. He turned to Isla. I'm sorry. He gestured, and an HR rep stepped forward, handing Isla a sealed envelope, her final paycheck and non-disclosure settlement. Tears pricked her eyes. She stumbled back. You can't buy my silence. A hush fell. Logan's gaze softened briefly, but he stepped aside as she exited. In the hallway, Jasper fell in step. Isla, come on. She shook him off. Don't. She marched down the corridor, each tile echoing her anger. Security cameras clicked overhead. She reached the executive elevator, but it passed her by. Locked for executives only. She ran to the service elevator and punched the emergency button. It swung open. Inside, she slid down to her knees, clutching the pink slip. She drew her notebook and wrote. Fired without notice. Hostile takeover by Logan's fear. She underlined fear. She snapped the notebook shut and rose, determination blazing in her eyes. She'd been fired, but the war was far from over. If Pierce International intended to silence her, they underestimated her resolve. She would leverage every ounce of proof she'd gathered. This chain of command was broken, and now she would tear it down. Isla returned home to find a hospital-white envelope taped to her apartment door. Inside lay a USB drive labeled Truth Files. No note. Her pulse surged. She locked her door behind her and plugged it into her laptop. The screen filled with folders. LUX evidence. Family trust. Maxtran files. Ava Pierce. A video file titled Confession caught her eye. She clicked play. On screen, Logan Pierce sat before a banker in Ava's parlor, face solemn. He admitted that Graham Pierce had orchestrated every injustice. Max's erasure, Ava's exile, regulatory bribery. He vowed to atone and asked Ava to help Isla expose the files responsibly. Tears blurred Isla's vision. She replayed Logan's confession. I was complicit. I let ambition blind me. I need Isla to lead this company into the light. The banker nodded gravely. She scrolled through the documents, bank statements, legal filings, medical records proving Max's poisoning. Every damning detail compiled in neat folders. The drive was a Trojan horse of redemption. Her breath caught. Logan had risked everything to right his father's wrongs, and trusted her with his confession. A knock at her door jolted her. She yanked out the drive and hid it in her briefcase. Through the peephole, she saw Jasper, panic etched on his face. "Isla, Logan wants you back," he panted. "He's been broadcasting a live address. He's asking for you." She swallowed. Trust warred with betrayal. She opened the door. "Why?" He lifted his hands. "He said only you can save the company. He owns the summit stage now. Says he'll go public with his confession unless you come." Isla's heart thundered. This was her chance to reclaim her mission on the world stage. She grabbed her coat and the USB drive. "Lead the way." At the Summit Auditorium, lights doused and spotlights trained on the stage. Logan stood behind the lectern, stock market tickers projected behind him in red. The audience, regulators, shareholders, press, hushed. Isla slipped backstage, clutching the USB drive. Logan's voice rang out. "I stand before you not as a perfect CEO, but as a repentant son." He clicked a remote. Data charts exploded across screens, showing LUX's mass data harvesting. Gasps rose. "These are biometric records stolen from unwitting citizens. I will dismantle Project LUX, and I will resign unless this company commits to transparency." A murmur rippled. Isla stepped onto the stage beside him, feeding the drive into a podium laptop. The projector shifted to Graham Pierce's own handwriting, scrawled plans of bribery and cover-ups. Journalist cameras swiveled. Logan gestured to Isla. She uncovered every lie. Isla took the mic. "Project LUX exploited millions. But today, with your permission, we begin restitution." She clicked again. The screen filled with legal documents, restoration funds for affected communities, biometric data destruction protocols, independent oversight committees chaired by Ava Pierce. The auditorium erupted into applause. Regulators leapt to their feet. Logan exhaled, relief washing over him. Ava emerged from the wings, tears shining. Isla met Logan's gaze and smiled. The files had spoken louder than power. Project LUX's scars would heal under sunlight and justice. The empire would rise anew, built on truth. And as cameras flashed, she knew she had won more than vindication. She had transformed Pierce International's legacy and saved her brother's name from oblivion. The war was over, and the victory belonged to truth. The lights of the makeshift studio flickered as Isla Tran positioned herself in front of a ring light, her heart pounding like a jackhammer against her ribs. A dozen cameras, some mounted on tripods, others resting on smartphones tethered to ring lights, captured her every breath. Behind her, a muted city skyline framed a room through a large window, a silent witness to the storm she was about to unleash. She inhaled deeply, running a hand through her hair before settling the lapel mic clipped to her navy blazer. "Good evening," she began, voice calm but resolute. "I'm Isla Tran, former Chief Ethics Officer of Pierce International. Tonight, I bring you the truth behind Project LUX and the corruption that has thrived in the shadows of one of the world's largest corporations." She looked into the primary camera, eyes ablaze. "I have been fired, threatened, and framed, but I refuse to be silenced." She tapped the table, and a second screen lit up beside her. Spreadsheets detailed biometric data harvesting, user agreements masquerading as consent forms, and redacted memos bearing Graham Pierce's signature. These documents proved that Project LUX harvested biometric data from millions without proper consent, she explained, scrolling through the images. "I have the complete archive here, available for download. No more secrets." Chat bubbles danced across her phone screen as live viewers reacted, shock emojis, hearts, tens of thousands of live comments. She took a breath. "I am calling on regulators worldwide to investigate immediately. Pierce International must answer for its crimes." She held up her tablet, where lines of encrypted messages from global watchdogs scrolled by. We have secured commitments from 6 regulatory agencies across Europe, North America, and Asia. They will convene next week to review Project LUX. Behind the scenes, engineers monitored audio levels and network stability. Isla's assistant, a former IT auditor, fed her real-time metrics confirming the broadcast's reach. 500,000 simultaneous viewers, trending #ExposeLUX within minutes. Isla allowed herself a faint smile of satisfaction. This was the moment she had prepared for, the culmination of months of risk. "Let us stand together," she urged, tone softening. "We have the power to hold corporations accountable. Remember, transparency is the foundation of trust. Share this broadcast, download the files, and demand justice." She leaned closer to the camera. "I will be here answering questions for the next hour." The live chat exploded. Reporters inserted smartphone cameras into the makeshift studio, capturing raw reactions. High-profile influencers pledged to amplify her message. Veronica Steele's name trended in a sidebar, labeled Saboteur and Arrest Me Now. In Pierce International's crisis war room, Logan Pierce watched on a bank of monitors. His stock tickers flashed red as trading algorithms reacted in real time. He rubbed his temples, stunned by Isla's composure and the broadcast's impact. His HR chief whispered that regulators had already issued preliminary subpoenas. Logan exhaled and leaned forward. He needed to act fast. Back at the studio, Isla concluded, "This is only the beginning. I will not stop until every victim of Project LUX is heard and every responsible party is held accountable." She nodded once, then switched off the stream. Silence enveloped the room. The countdown to revolution had begun. Within minutes, emergency news cycles began broadcasting highlights of my testimony. Legal analysts dissecting every claim, and social media feeds flooded with demands for accountability. Solidarity hashtags trended across platforms as whistleblower organizations offered support. Even the fiercest critics paused, confronted with irrefutable evidence. Today marked the dawn of a new era, where truth reigns. The world has witnessed our bold stand. The morning after the broadcast, the halls of Pierce International's global headquarters resembled the aftermath of a storm. Stock tickers streamed in furious red across giant LED boards installed in the lobby. Investors huddled in knotty clusters, faces ashen, shouting into phones. The once pristine reception desk was littered with printouts of Isla trans evidence. Echoes of alarm bells ran through the corridors. Logan Pierce stormed into the CEO's suite, slamming the door behind him. His assistant, Jasper, flinched in the doorway. Within minutes, department heads flooded the conference room. Veronica Steele, pale and defeated, sat beside the CFO and general counsel. Logan cleared his throat. "Ladies and gentlemen, we are in crisis. Project LUX has collapsed, and public trust has evaporated." He paused, inhaling before continuing. "I intend to correct this course, but I need your full cooperation." He unfurled copies of the leaked files he had retrieved before the broadcast. "These are our wounds. We will heal them with honesty." A murmur rippled through the room. The CFO slammed his palm on the table. "Our market cap plunged by 18% overnight. We face multiple class action suits." Logan met his gaze. "Then we settle fairly. No stone unturned, no bribe unreturned." A tense silence followed. The general counsel swallowed. "Legally, we face fines and possible litigation bans." Logan's steel blue eyes hardened. "Then let the regulators investigate. We cooperate fully. We set restitution funds. We rebuild trust the right way." Outside the suite, press cameras circled like vultures. Security had erected rolling barricades, but TV crews leaned around them, microphones thrust toward tinted windows. Jenna Marlowe, the network's senior finance correspondent, snapped photos. Reporters chanted Logan's name as he stepped into the hallway, squares of light capturing his silhouette. He raised a hand in resignation. "I will address the media soon," he announced, then returned to the conference room. Isla Tran watched from the war room monitors, tension flickering in her usually composed expression. She leaned forward as Logan emerged. Cameras clicked. Reporters shouted questions. Mr. Pierce, will you resign? What happened to Project LUX? Are you complicit in these crimes? Logan paused, center stage before flashing lights. He inhaled and spoke. I take full responsibility for the failings of Pierce International. I let ambition blind my judgment. I will rebuild this company with transparency and integrity. Gasps and scribbles filled the air. Some executives cheered softly. Others exchanged uncertain glances. Veronica's face flushed red as she was led away by security for her role in the sabotage. Logan's expression softened when he spotted Isla on a bank of screens. He nodded once, a silent acknowledgement of her victory. She returned the nod, resolve shining in her eyes. Later, Logan addressed all staff by video feed. He apologized for the chaos, pledged robust transparency, and unveiled a new ethics code co-signed by Isla. Reactions ranged from silence to scattered applause. A black limousine glided to a stop in front of Pierce International's headquarters. The driver stepped out and held the door as Ava Pierce emerged, dignified and regal, her silver-streaked hair framing a face carved by both grace and sorrow. She paused on the polished marble steps, inhaling the cool morning air. Journalists and employees alike watched in hushed wonder. Ava had been absent for years, exiled by her own son when she exposed his father's misdeeds. Now she returned as a living testament to integrity. Inside, security intercepts parted to reveal Ava's quiet procession through the lobby. Portraits of Pierce patriarchs and CEOs bore proud dates, but one spot remained vacant, a placeholder for the daughter who dared to challenge patriarchal rule. Ava crossed the lobby and ascended the grand staircase to the boardroom, where Logan Pierce waited, tension etched in every crease of his sharp suit. Their eyes met across the long oak table, and memories flooded him. Her lullabies receding into childhood, her gentle admonitions when he faltered. She offered a serene smile, and Logan rose, hesitating before embracing her. Their hug carried years of regret and unspoken forgiveness. Ava cleared her throat and addressed the assembled board and executives. I have returned to fulfill a pledge to truth. Her voice, though soft, resonated throughout the chamber. My son has suffered for the sins of his father, but he has proven his capacity for change. Tonight, I will assume interim chairmanship to guide this company away from shadows into light. Board members exchanged glances. The CFO nodded, recalling Ava's tenure before her exile, a time when Pierce International was respected for its principles. Several directors rose to their feet, offering murmurs of assent. Veronica Steele's seat sat empty after her arrest, and Ava's presence filled the void of leadership. Logan stepped aside, allowing Ava to continue. Effective immediately, we will implement a 3-tier oversight committee, governed by independent members and chaired by myself. We will dismantle Project LUX entirely, release full audit reports publicly, and allocate restitution funds to affected communities. Our path forward must be paved with transparency. She paused, her gaze sweeping the room. This company's legacy must honor our humanity, not betray it. Her tone softened as she turned to Logan. My son, I return not as judge but as partner. Together, we will rebuild. Logan's voice cracked. Mother, thank you. Emotions flickered across his features. Pride, humility, love. He drew a document from his folder. I formally resign as CEO, effective when this committee is in place. Ava, I entrust you to oversee this transition. The board stirred, murmurs of shock rippled. Ava reached for his hand. We lead together, she said steadily. In the days that followed, Ava's return galvanized employees. She walked the corridors, greeting staff with warm smiles and listening to their concerns. At the cafeteria, she sat among junior analysts, discussing career goals. At the server room, engineers detailed security protocols, and she inquired with genuine curiosity. Her presence reminded everyone that leadership could be compassionate. Reporters speculated on Logan's future. Would he return? Would Ava's stewardship last? But inside the building, faith in the company soared. Social media buzzed with photos of Ava on the showroom floor, captioned #PierceRestored. Investors regained confidence as market analysts revised forecasts upward. Late one evening, Ava stood alone in her former office, now repurposed for the oversight committee. She opened the blinds and gazed at the city lights, whispering a silent vow. May truth always guide our steps. Her return marked not just a company reborn, but a family united. The Istanbul airport terminal buzzed with muffled horns, chaotic announcements, and the scent of roasted chestnuts from street vendors outside. Isla Tran stepped off the connecting flight, her notebook clutched in one hand and a duffel bag in the other. The encrypted tip had been brief, but credible. Max Tran was alive, hospitalized in intensive care after an apparent poisoning at a clandestine company retreat. She navigated the labyrinth with purpose, scanning faces for signs of hope. A driver held a sign bearing her name. She approached him quickly. "I'm Isla Tran," she announced softly. The driver nodded and loaded her bags. As the sleek sedan merged into traffic, she opened her notebook and reread the last line. "Meet at Anatolia Medical Center. Room 304. Midday." She tapped a message to Logan. "Max alive. Arriving." His reply blinked immediate. "Be careful. I'm on my way." The car wove through Istanbul's bustling streets. Minarets pierced the skyline as morning light glinted off the Bosphorus. She felt a storm of anticipation. Her last memory of Max was the twins' childhood laughter echoing in their parents' courtyard. Now he lay vulnerable, breaths rattled by tubes. At Anatolia Medical Center, she bypassed reception with Dr. Erdogan's expedited letter. Security scanned her badge, but waved her inside. A nurse guided her to room 304, where soft beeps and humidifiers hummed. Walking inside, Isla froze at the bedside. Max lay motionless, eyes closed, a tangle of 4 lines rippling across his arms. His dark hair lay damp, and his skin looked pallid under sterile lights. She sank to her knees beside him, placed a trembling hand on his wrist, and closed her eyes. "Max," she whispered. "It's me, Isla." Tears welled as she stroked his hair. The doctor entered quietly, pulling a chair beside her. Dr. Erdogan was a stocky man with a gentle demeanor. "He's stable," the doctor informed her. "The toxin has been neutralized, but he remains sedated for neurological monitoring." He tapped a tablet. "We performed a full toxin screen. None of this matches a natural exposure. It appears intentional." Isla's breath hitched. "Who would do this?" she murmured. The doctor shrugged. "We traced the toxin source to a compound used in commercial pesticides, registered and deregistered shell companies. The trail leads back years." She bowed her head. "I know." She glanced at Max's fragile form. He knew too much. Footsteps echoed in the corridor. Logan appeared at the doorway, exuding urgency and relief. He hugged Isla tightly. "He's alive," he choked. "I feared." His voice cracked. She nodded against his shoulder. "He's here." They moved aside for the doctor's updates, and Logan listened intently. Dr. Erdogan stepped back. "We'll monitor him through the night. If he wakes, let him rest. No unnecessary stimuli." He offered a consoling nod and left. Alone again, Isla and Logan held hands. She looked at her brother's labored breathing, then at Logan's haunted eyes. "We finished this," she vowed. "Whoever did this will pay." Logan nodded, voice low. "We will. I promise you both justice." They sat silently, guardians at his side. The beeping machines marked time. Outside the window, a plane soared toward the horizon, symbolizing hope and distance. Isla closed her notebook and opened a fresh page titled Next Steps. She began listing action items. Trace toxin shipments, secure legal counsel, notify regulators. Max's first breath echoed through the ventilator, and a cough emerged. Isla's heart leaped. She moved to adjust his blanket. "Welcome back, brother." The hospital room fell silent except for the steady beep of the ventilator. Isla Tran and Logan Pierce hovered at Max's bedside, watching his chest rise and fall. The sterile light caught every contour of his pale skin, the dark bruise blossoming on his temple, and the thin sheen of sweat on his forehead. Isla reached out, brushing her fingertips across his clammy hand, feeling the faint pulse beneath her touch. After months of searching and risk, she had found her twin, alive but fragile. Logan's voice was low and tremored with emotion. He's awake, but the committees and regulators are waiting. We need his testimony. Isla shook her head gently. He can't speak yet. We must let him recover. Logan pressed his palm against the rail. Every moment matters. She turned to Logan, her eyes earnest. Family first, she insisted. He closed his eyes, inhaled slowly, and nodded. They waited in companionable hush until the heart rate monitor sighed a flat whoosh. And Max stirred. His eyes fluttered open, dark and confused. He blinked at the ceiling, arms tethered by tubes and sensors. He attempted to sit, but pain flared across his ribs. Isla kneeled beside him. "Take it easy," she whispered. "You're safe." Max's gaze lingered on her face, recognition dawning. His hand twitched. Logan knelt on the other side, grasping Max's other hand. "Brother," he said, voice breaking. "I never stopped searching." Max's lips quivered. He tried to form words. His voice was a harsh rasp. "Isla," he croaked. The single syllable carried weight. Tears welled in her eyes. "I'm here," she said. "We're here." Nurses peeked through the doorway. Dr. Erdogan entered, medical chart in hand. "He's stable," the doctor reported softly. "The sedation is wearing off, but he's weak." He paused. "He'll need therapy in time, but neurologically he's intact." He nodded toward Max, encouraging him to speak, but gently. Logan rose and retrieved a voice recorder. He held it in his palm. "Max, we need your statement to clear your name and expose the conspiracy." Max's gaze shifted between Logan and Isla. He closed his eyes, breathing hesitantly. Isla squeezed his hand. "Start when you're ready," she whispered. He inhaled slowly, exhaling a shudder. Logan pressed play, and a hush fell. Max opened his mouth. Words came tentatively. They tried to silence me. They used the pesticide I discovered for LUX data." His voice caught. Isla offered a tissue. He nodded and continued, voice growing firmer. "I found documents proving the shell companies, the bribes, the phone calls to regulators. I sent them to Isla. Then they attacked." Logan's eyes glistened. He recorded every word, every pause. Through the open door, security and legal teams listened on speaker, absorbing the confession. Chlorinated hospital air carried the gravity of truth. Max leaned back, exhaustion overwhelming. Isla brushed his hair away from his forehead, her heart both breaking and soaring. Hours passed as Max recounted every detail. The meetings in Geneva, the files in the basement, Ava's memos, the poisoning at the retreat. By the end, the room felt sacred, sanctified by sincerity. Dr. Erdogan checked his vitals and nodded in approval. Logan turned off the recorder and embraced Max gently. Isla exhaled, relief flooding her. Brother, breathing, broken, but alive. They had won their greatest victory. Truth restored, family reunited, and justice on the horizon. That night, Ava visited the room, her presence a quiet strength. She vowed to protect Max's testimony and guide the family forward. The cavernous main hall of Pierce International's annual general meeting was transformed into a makeshift tribunal. Rows of shareholders filled every seat, their murmurs echoing off the glass walls. At the front, a semicircle of directors sat behind a polished oak dais. In the center, Ava Pierce stood as interim chair, her silver hair a beacon of calm authority. Beside her, Logan Pierce and Isla Tran sat in tense silence. Logan in a charcoal suit that seemed too heavy for the moment, Isla clutching her notebook. Ava tapped the gavel. "This session is called to order," she announced, voice carrying the weight of conviction. "We convene to vote on the resolution to implement the new Oversight and Ethics Charter, to restructure executive powers, and to ratify accountability measures for past misconduct." A hush fell. Ava gestured to Logan. "Mr. Pierce, would you introduce the motion?" Logan rose, shoulders squared. He glanced at Isla, who offered a small nod. He cleared his throat. "Fellow shareholders, friends of Pierce International, recent events have tested our company's integrity. Project LUX betrayed our values, and I take full responsibility for its failings. Under the proposed charter, I will retain the CEO title but with reduced unilateral authority. Major decisions will require joint approval by the Oversight Committee, chaired by Mrs. Pierce, and guided by Chief Ethics Officer Isla Tran. A ripple of surprise passed through the audience. Logan continued, voice steady. I believe in this compromise. It restores trust, honors transparency, and ensures our legacy endures. I ask for your vote in favor. A board member stood. Point of order. What are the terms for Isla's role? He addressed Isla directly. She stood, gathering her composure. My mandate is clear. Enforce the ethics charter, audit every division quarterly, and report publicly to shareholders. No exceptions. Her voice rang firm. She laid her notebook on the desk, slides projected behind her. Oversight Committee structure, ethics charter summary, and restitution fund allocations. A shareholder rose. What guarantees do we have that this structure will hold? Murmurs rippled. Ava answered. The charter includes automatic triggers. Any violation voids executive bonuses, initiates third-party audits, and invokes regulatory review. We have legal binding. The chair opened the floor to proxy votes. Hand after hand raised ballots. Green for approval, red for rejection. Tension mounted as assistants collected and tallied votes in a glass box. Isla held her breath, glancing at Logan's rigid profile. After what felt like an eternity, the head teller stepped forward. Total votes cast, 12,458,732. Votes in favor, 8,932,107. Votes against, 3,526,625. A pause. The motion carries. A chorus of applause erupted, some tentative, some joyful. Ava rapped the gavel. The charter is adopted. She turned to Logan. Your commitments stand ratified. Logan exhaled, a mixture of relief and pride softening his features. Isla allowed herself a small smile. In the packed room, directors stood and shook hands. Logan crossed to Isla and offered his hand. She grasped it firmly. Thank you, he whispered, voice low. She met his gaze. Thank you for trusting me. Behind them, shareholders filed out, cameras flashing. The vote was won, and with it, a new era for Pierce International had begun. Late that evening, the CEO suite buzzed with quiet activity. Ava Pierce, Isla Tran, and Logan Pierce gathered around a sleek video studio set up in the corner of the grand office. Soft LED panels illuminated their faces. A single camera on a tripod stood ready. Ava placed a reassuring hand on Logan's shoulder. This isn't just a statement, she said gently. It's the world hearing your truth. Logan inhaled and nodded. He smoothed his tie. Isla checked the teleprompter loaded with his prepared remarks. Acknowledgement of culpability, apology for betrayals, and vows of reform. She touched his arm. You can do this. The director off camera called action. Logan approached the lectern. His reflection in the backdrop of Manhattan's nighttime skyline gleamed. He pressed the mic. Hello. I'm Logan Pierce, CEO of Pierce International. Today, I'm here not to defend my actions, but to own them. His voice wavered, then steadied. He looked directly into the lens. I betrayed the trust of employees, shareholders, and customers when Project LUX operated in secret. I let ambition blind me to ethics. For that, I am deeply sorry. Behind the camera, Ava and Isla watched, hearts tightening. Logan continued. I'm resigning as sole decision-maker and welcoming shared oversight, an oversight committee chaired by my mother, Ava Pierce, and guided by Chief Ethics Officer Isla Tran. I ask for your forgiveness, your patience, and your partnership as we rebuild this company. He paused, swallowing. I owe my brother a debt I cannot repay. I owe every person whose privacy was violated an apology and restitution. We will fund communities affected by our mistakes and ensure no such breach can happen again. His eyes glistened. Truth and transparency will be our new foundation. The director cut the feed. Silence reigned. Logan exhaled heavily, shoulders sagging. Ava wrapped him in a hug. Isla stepped forward and pressed a reassuring kiss to his cheek. You were honest, she said softly. That's the hardest thing to do. Over the next hour, the video was edited, subtitled, and uploaded to every corporate channel. Within minutes of posting, it racked up views by the hundreds of thousands. Social media lit up with comments, "CEO with integrity." Finally, a confession that matters. The hashtag Logan owns it trended nationwide. In Pierce International's 24/7 war room, security analysts monitored live stats. Positive sentiment soared above 80%. Investor sentiment charts climbed. The board met virtually to celebrate the outreach success. Logan leaned back in his office chair, exhausted but unburdened. He sent a message to Isla. "Thank you for everything." She replied, "You did it. We did it." Ava entered with a glass of water. "You spoke your truth to the world tonight," she said. "Now let's keep it." She raised her glass. "To new beginnings." Logan clinked glasses. "To truth." They drank in silence, each savoring the weight lifted. In that moment, the confession changed everything. For Pierce International, for Logan, and for the family he nearly lost. The spring evening air was crisp as Isla Tran walked through the marble lobby of Pierce International, USB drive in pocket and determination in her step. She had come to confront Veronica Steele one last time, an attempt at closure before the legal proceedings. Security guards at the elevator pressed standoffish glances toward her. She ignored them. On the 42nd floor, conference room doors were locked, but voices filtered through. Inside, Veronica Steele paced in designer heels, her white pantsuit now rumpled, her mascara smudged. Two uniformed officers stood by the door, their badges gleaming. A guard led Isla inside. Veronica froze, surprise flickering across her features. "Tran," she spat. "Show your face." Her voice was brittle. Isla stopped a few feet away. "Veronica, it's over," she said quietly. "The evidence is irrefutable. The surveillance logs, the leaked draft, your confession under oath." She produced a printed affidavit, surveillance timestamps, IP trails, network logs. Veronica's jaw clenched. Before Isla could continue, the door burst open. Two plainclothes detectives hurried in. One presented a warrant. "Veronica Steele," he announced. "You're under arrest for conspiracy, corporate espionage, and fraud in violation of state and federal law." Veronica's eyes widened. "What? You can't." The other detective produced handcuffs. "Step aside." Veronica's arrogance cracked. She raised trembling hands. As the cuffs clicked shut, she glared at Isla. "You'll regret this," she hissed. Isla met her gaze, without flinching. "I regret nothing." Veronica was led away, her cries of protest muffled. The detectives glanced at Isla. "Thank you," one said quietly. "Your testimony made this possible." After Veronica was escorted down the service corridor, Isla sank into a chair. The room felt empty without the tension her nemesis had brought. A court clerk handed Isla a subpoena. She would testify in open court next month. She exhaled, tension draining. Outside the window, city lights twinkled as if celebrating. She dialed Logan. "Veronica's in custody." His voice crackled with relief. "I'm proud of you," he murmured. "Let's finish this." Moments later, Ava joined Isla near the window. "You turned the tide," she said softly. "You protected this company's integrity." She embraced Isla. "Thank you." Isla returned the hug. "We all did it together." She watched as the detectives led Veronica away, her heels clicking down the corridor like a fading curse. At last, the saboteur had fallen. 2 weeks later, the International Ethics Summit convened in Istanbul's Congress Center. Keynote speakers from around the globe gathered to address corporate responsibility, data privacy, and whistleblower protections. In the front row sat Isla Tran, beside Ava Pierce and Logan. Max Tran, now fully recovered and steady, stood at the lectern under a large banner reading, "Truth in Technology." The audience hushed as Max tapped the mic. His dark eyes glinted with quiet authority. He cleared his throat. "Good morning. I am Max Tran, from Istanbul. Last month, I was poisoned in an attempt to silence my whistleblowing on Project LUX." A murmur of sympathy swept the hall. He paused, gaze sweeping the crowd. "Today, I stand alive because of my sister's courage, my brother's redemption, and my mother's unwavering integrity. He clicked a remote. Slides displayed photographs, hospital monitors, his 4 lines, the underground retreat where he collapsed. "These images are my scars," he said, voice steady. "But they also mark the catalyst for change at Pierce International." He exhaled. "I proposed the Istanbul Declaration on Biometric Privacy, a charter to protect personal data, enforce transparency, and impose severe penalties for misuse. Let this be the standard by which all corporations govern themselves." A panelist rose to congratulate him. Applause thundered. Max looked toward Logan and Isla, offering a slight bow. He continued, "To any company, if you sacrifice ethics for profit, you risk everything: trust, reputation, even human lives." He closed the presentation with a personal note. "I urge you to be bold. Be honest. Let truth guide innovation." After the address, attendees formed a line to greet him. Journalists pressed recorders to his face. Advocates thanked him tearfully. He answered questions about data security legislation in Turkey and global cooperation. In one exchange, a senator asked how to enforce compliance across borders. Max replied, "Through multinational treaties and real-time audit logs, visible to the public." Late in the afternoon, at a private reception, Logan approached his brother. "You were incredible," he said softly. Max shook his hand. "We all played our part." Isla joined them, and Ava raised a glass of pomegranate juice in congratulation to Max and to a future built on honesty. They toasted under the minarets visible through the windows, symbols of resilience and rebirth. Max's speech would be published worldwide, cited by policymakers and watchdogs. He had awakened not only to life, but to a mission. Sunlight gilded the lobby of Pierce International as employees gathered for Isla Tran's inauguration as Chief Ethics Officer. A gleaming plaque bore her name and title above the grand entrance. Clusters of staff, analysts, engineers, administrators, lined the aisles, whispering congratulations. Photographers prepared to capture the moment. In the center stood a dais adorned with white lilies and blue ribbons. Logan Pierce approached the microphone first. He surveyed the crowd, eyes lingering on Isla. "Today," he began, "we honor a woman whose perseverance saved this company. Without Isla Tran's courage, Pierce International would not have found its way back to integrity." Applause rippled through the hall. He stepped aside as Ava Pierce joined him. "In my years, I have seen many leaders rise and fall, but true leadership shines brightest in the darkest hour." She gestured to Isla. "Isla, by your appointment, you remind us that titles don't define value, actions do." She pinned Isla's CFO insignia on her lapel. Flowers and cameras focused on Isla's proud smile. Logan returned to the podium. "Isla, I once told you, you work for me, remember that. Today we know the truth, I work for you." He embraced her in front of the audience. Laughter and cheers burst forth. Isla stepped up, voice steady despite her pounding heart. "When Logan hired me, I thought I was here to serve, but I discovered my purpose was to protect our shared future." She inhaled, gazing at colleagues. "Ethics isn't a department. It's the heart of every decision, big or small. My mission is to ensure every voice is heard, every action is accountable, and every person is respected." She paused as staff waved small flags bearing #EthicsFirst. "I promise you transparency, open dialogue, and unwavering integrity. Together, we will build a company that stands for more than profit. We stand for people." A roar of approval filled the lobby. Cameras flashed as Logan, Ava, Max, and Isla joined hands. Reporters swarmed for final quotes. One executive murmured, "She wasn't just an assistant, she was our conscience." Later that day, as the sun set behind skyline, Isla stood alone on the rooftop terrace overlooking the city. Logan joined her quietly. He handed her a coffee, black, no eye contact, and smiled. "You've earned this." She accepted it, and for the first time, sipped without nerves. Below, lights twinkled, symbols of possibility. Isla exhaled, thinking of every challenge she had overcome. She turned to Logan. "What's next?" she asked. He grinned. "Whatever we choose, together." She nodded, eyes shining. Together. And as the city's lights danced, Isla Tran, the assistant who transformed an empire, embraced her destiny. I hope you enjoyed this story. Please like, comment, and share. Also turn on the bell to get more of our videos. See you in the next story.